Ukrainian accusation: civilian cargo ships attacked. Ukraine accuses Russian forces of hitting 2 civilian cargo vessels off its southern coast, killing a crew member and raising fears over global food shipping routes. One ship, flying the flag of St. Kitts and Nevis, was en route to load grain at the port of Chornomorsk. The second, flying the flag of the Comoros and carrying soybeans, was struck near Odessa. Ukrainian Restoration Minister Oleksandr Kubrakov confirmed a Syrian national crew member was killed, calling it yet another deliberate assault on civilian targets. He accused Russia of targeting international shipping and food logistics, noting previous attacks on vessels carrying sunflower oil, fruits, and vegetables. "This is piracy, nothing else," he said. The Russian response and justification. Russian President Vladimir Putin framed such attacks as reciprocal actions. Speaking in December, he vowed to intensify strikes on Ukrainian ships and port infrastructure in the Black Sea, asserting that Russian forces target vessels used to supply military equipment to Ukraine. Before that, the Ukrainian armed forces tried to attack our seaports. We reciprocated. These strikes were much more powerful, Putin stated. He warned of potentially enhancing strikes and consider actions against the vessels of those countries that are helping Ukraine with performing these piracy actions, suggesting a possible blockade to cut Ukraine off the sea. A new front: drone attacks on tankers. The conflict has expanded to include attacks on commercial tankers linked to Russia.
Не получил информацию, знаю, что это происходило, атаки на танкеры в нейтральных или даже не нейтральных водах, а в особой экономической зоне другого государства, третьего государства. Это пиратство, не что иное. Значит, они раньше, украинские вооруженные силы, пытались наносить удары по нашим портам морским. Мы отвечали именно. Мы не начинали этих операций такими же ударами. Уверяю вас, что они гораздо более эффективные и мощные. И это прежде всего касалось тех судов, кораблей, на которых доставлялось в Украину военное имущество, оборудование военное и боеприпасы. И мы попадали именно туда, куда хотели, о чем свидетельствуют вторичные взрывы, которые мы наблюдали с помощью воздушной разведки. Но вот то, что делают украинские вооруженные силы сейчас, это пиратство. Ну что, какие ответные меры могут быть? Во-первых, мы расширим номенклатуру таких ударов наших по портовым сооружениям и по кораблям, по судам, которые заходят в украинские порты. Первое. Второе. Если это будет продолжаться, мы рассмотрим возможность, я не говорю, что мы это будем делать, но рассмотрим возможность ответных мер в отношении судов тех стран, которые помогают Украине осуществлять эти пиратские акции. Ну, самый радикальный способ — это отрезать Украину от моря. Тогда ей невозможно будет заниматься пиратством в принципе. Но это все как бы по нарастающей. Надеюсь, что украинское военное руководство, политическое руководство, а также те, кто стоит за их спиной, подумают.
Nothing else. Before that, the Ukrainian armed forces tried to attack our seaports. We reciprocated. I would like to emphasize this. We reciprocated with similar strikes. And I assure you, these tracks were much more powerful, much stronger. And first of all, they were launched against the vessels, again, the ships that were used to supply military equipment and ammunition to Ukraine, and we hit precisely where we intended to. And you can see it from the explosions that were caused by the strikes, secondary explosions and secondary detonation. And what's the Ukrainian armed forces doing now? That's piracy. What kind of response could be? we can enhance our strikes against the port infrastructure and against the vessels that are entering Ukrainian ports. That's one. Secondly, if this goes on, then we will look into the possibility, I'm not saying that we will do this, but we will consider it, to perform some actions against the vessels of those countries that are helping Ukraine with performing these piracy actions. So we might cut Ukraine off the sea to stop them from being involved with these piracy tactics.
On Wednesday, the Palau-flagged oil tanker L-10 Saris was attacked by what maritime intelligence described as an unmanned marine vehicle and drone while sailing towards the Russian port of Novorossiysk, about 30 nautical miles off Turkey's coast. The tanker, reportedly struck in its upper sections or engine room, made a sharp turn toward the Turkish coast and was escorted to safety by the Turkish Coast Guard. No injuries or pollution were reported among the 25 crew. This is part of a pattern. Since November, at least 5 commercial tankers trading with Russia have been attacked in the Black Sea, several of which had been sanctioned by the West for allegedly transporting Russian oil. International reactions and warnings. Turkey has warned of a worrying escalation in the region, especially after Ukrainian naval drone attacks. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has previously urged restraint and called for a limited ceasefire on attacks targeting ports and energy facilities. Ankara expressed concern that the latest drone strikes occurred within its exclusive economic zone, posing risks to navigation, safety, and the environment. Russia. The Kremlin condemned the attacks on tankers as violations of international maritime law and infringements on Turkish sovereignty. Spokesman Dmitry Peskov warned the incidents are serious and could disrupt diplomatic efforts. Industry impact. Shipping insurers have already responded to the heightened risk. After similar drone strikes in late November, insurance rates for vessels operating in the Black Sea surged significantly. The stakes. The Black Sea remains a critical lifeline for global food and energy shipments. With cargo ships and tankers now under fire, the crisis is entering a more dangerous phase that threatens maritime safety, regional stability, and global markets. The incidents raise a pressing question. Are these attacks the beginning of a sustained shadow war at sea, or a precursor to a broader and more direct confrontation?